So what I wanted to do in today's video is use the new Chat GPT beta and have AI basically make a program for me. So we're on the website called chat.openai.com/chat, and then essentially when you're in a new chat, you just ask a question at the bottom here. So I want a training plan that allows me to train 4 days a week. My goal is to build muscle and lose some body fat. So let's start with this. Let's see what it comes up with. Day 1, a full body strength training: squats, bench press, deadlifts, pull-ups, shoulder press, lunges, and planks. Day 2 is cardio. Oh wow, okay, so it's introduced cardio. 30 to 60 minutes of steady state cardio and some ab exercises. Day 3 is a rest day, and day 4 is a full body strength training and different exercises in day 1. So it's leg press, incline dumbbell presses, Romanian deadlifts, wow, okay, seated cable rows, lat pull down, calf raises, and side planks. And then it's giving me another cardio and abs day, so different stuff. This plan combines strength training and muscle building with cardio to help with fat loss. It's important to vary the exercises you do to give your muscles time to rest and recover. So make sure to mix up your workouts and include rest days as needed. It's important to pay attention to your diet and make sure you get enough protein to support muscle growth and recovery. There's just a little bit too much cardio for me. I don't want to be doing cardio, so I'm going to tell it that. I want to do strength training 4 days a week. Let's see what it replies to that. Here we go. I apologize for the mistake in my previous response. Here's a revised 4-day training plan that focuses on strength training. So day 1, upper body. Bench press 3 sets of 8 to 12. Incline dumbbell presses, push up. Okay, so chest, and then it's seated cable rows, so it's lats, so it's mid back, lat pull downs, shoulder presses, and bicep curls. Day 2 is a lower body strength session, so it's squats, lunges, deadlifts, leg press, calf raises, and glute bridges. Okay, and then it's off. So it's uppers, lowers, off, and then day 4 is full body. Now again, it's not quite there because that actually means I'm only training 3 days a week. I want a 4-day training plan. This current plan has only 3 training days. Okay, so it keeps going back to a 4-day training plan. Maybe I'm not wording it correctly, but it keeps going back to a 4-day training plan, but one of the days is a rest day. So it makes me go uppers, lowers, full body. Again, I don't mind that at all. The workouts are actually quite good. They're good enough for somebody who's just starting in the gym. I really like this. But I think if you're asking for 4 days, I want 4 days. I want to be training 4 days. Now, one of the things I've got written down is I want the training plan to be efficient. So I'm going to ask it that. Okay, so this plan now is a 2-day training plan. So we've gone down from a 3 to a 2-day, but it's made me do 2 full body days. I actually don't mind that because it doesn't say to just do Monday and Wednesday. It just says day on, day off, day on, day off. So technically I could do Saturday on and then Sunday off again. Don't mind that at all. It's a little bit shorter, very similar exercises to the previous plans. It's just kind of condensed it down a little bit. What does it say? It's important to vary exercise and give your muscles time to rest and recover, and schedule in rest days as needed. Don't mind that at all, and I think that's really helpful for someone who's just getting started, and it's actually giving you a nice little structure, which is kind of day on, day off. Okay, so now that's fine, but I'm going to say I have knee problems. Is there an alternative exercise to squats and the leg press in the program? I want to see what it comes up with, just in case, because somebody might have some issues that they can't do certain exercises. Just want to see what it can come up with instead. So the first thing it says is, listen to your body. Squats and leg press can place a lot of stress on the knees. That's fine. And you might have to find alternative exercises. Here are a few. So it's made me do step-ups. Now, step-ups aren't necessarily a bad exercise. I just think they're a little bit more glute focused, but I don't mind that. It's a nice little alternative that you can do. And they still work your quads to a degree, depending on obviously how you step up onto the machine. It suggested a leg press machine again. Okay, so it's replaced leg press with squats. Lunges. So lunges, let me just check if they're in the program. They are in the program already, so it's just essentially making me do more lunges. Not a problem. And then calf raises, don't really get calf raises. Not bad. Could be a little bit better, I would say. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that because you can go kind of crazy with this and kind of go down a rabbit hole. So next question for me is rest sets and reps. So what should my rest period be between sets? Okay, so it's come up with the concept that it depends obviously on the type of workout that you're doing and your level of fitness. Not a problem. In strength training, actually really good. It says between 2 to 5 minutes to give yourself a little bit more time to recover. If your goal is muscle size, hypertrophy, 30 to 90 seconds. Now that's a little bit on the shorter end. I would probably aim towards like 90 seconds to 2 minutes to kind of be able to fully, push hard in the gym. But I think as a general guideline, it's okay. I'm just worried that people will go to the gym, they won't put enough weight on, and they'll only use 30 seconds rest. Because I'm pretending to be semi aware of what I'm doing, so that's kind of good enough for me. But somebody who's just starting out, I don't think that's enough information for them. I just like them to have a little bit more info about rest periods, maybe better information. Where 30 to 90 seconds, that's a very big gap. If it's at 75 seconds to 90, that's a little bit closer, but 30 to 90 is a very big gap. Let's move on to training to failure. So I read somewhere that I need to be training to failure on every set. Is that true? Okay, so training to failure. I actually really like this response. I think it's a really, really good response. It does say that training to failure can be an effective way to challenge the muscle and stimulate muscle growth. Completely agree with that. However, it's not necessary to train to failure on every set in order to see progress. And again, that's also very true. There are a lot of people that train with RIR1, so like 1 rep in reserve, 2 reps in reserve, because ultimately it's the last 3 to 5 reps. They are the effective reps, and they're the ones that are most important. So very good. It doesn't give me numbers specifically, so it doesn't say kind of 3 to 5 reps, because that's generally what it's considered, but I don't mind that. And also here some general considerations, and I really like the considerations. So training frequency. It is recommended to limit the number of sets you perform to failure on any given workout. It's very, very true. Absolutely spot on this one. 1 or 2 sets per muscle group per workout is a good starting point. Absolutely spot on. So if you're doing 3 sets, you want to be pushing the first 2 to failure, and then the third one, you don't have to necessarily go as much. Training intensity as well. So it's important to be well rested and properly fueled before attempting it. Again, very true here. Really, really good advice there. Form. It is important, and I cannot stress this third point enough. Form. It is important to maintain proper form and training to failure. Even when you are tired, if you start to lose form, it is time to stop the set. And this is probably one of the most vital things when it comes to training with good quality form. Just people tend to just go beyond with poor form. No, execute the reps with good form. I really, really like this. And then recovery. Training to failure can then take a toll on your muscles. So it's important to allow for adequate recovery time between workouts. Perfect. Make sure you get enough sleep, eat a balanced diet, and include rest days in your training schedule. And then at the end it says, in general, it's a good idea to vary your training intensity and not rely on training to failure as the sole means of stimulating muscle growth. Really like that. Really, really, that is spot on. That is really, really spot on. How do I know I am progressing? It talks about 4 major points, which is measurements, should take body measurements and so on. Now, this isn't necessarily directly related to the program, but okay, don't mind that. And maybe again, it's the wording of my question. You've got strength. Tracking strength can be a good indicator of progress. Body composition, so tracking your body composition can give you a better understanding of how your body's changing. Now, this talks about DEXA scans, which is really, really interesting because DEXA scans are generally considered the gold standard. And then performance. Tracking your performance can help seeing progress in specific exercise or workouts. So timing your running, anything like that. And at the bottom, and I think that's kind of a point that potentially should be a little bit higher in the, it should be one of the points, it says consistency. It is important to stay consistent. It does tell you progress isn't linear, but it is important to be consistent with your workouts and to stay patient. That should be a point in and of itself. That is something that's massively underrated. It's just a case of staying consistent, sticking to it, and just making sure you keep training over and over. And it also says pay attention to your diet and overall lifestyle because these are factors that can impact your progress in the gym. Really good. I just think that consistency bit should be higher up, and it should be maybe number 1. It says start with consistency. But overall, really happy with that answer. And I think for somebody who's kind of semi-conscious as to what they're doing, really good answer. Let's talk about this next bit, and that's food. So I want to know how many calories should I be eating? Okay, so it's not really calculated my calories, but it's given me a few pointers. So it talks about maintenance, it talks about weight loss, it talks about muscle building, and how many calories you should be eating in with regards to that. So maintenance is obviously consume enough to maintain your current weight and so on. Now with the weight loss section, I think that's a little bit, I'm not going to say dangerous, but imagine there's somebody whose TDEE is 1800 calories per day, and here it says, losing 1 to 2 pounds per week is a good way of doing it, and you create a deficit of 500 to 1000 calories. Somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, their TDEE is 1800, will look at this and go, I'll go for the 1000 calories. It becomes unsustainable. So I think 500 to 1000 calories, and throwing a number out like that without knowing all the information, considering the first paragraph says, it matters, your age, your gender, your height, your activity level, and your goals matter. to then put a number of 1,000 out there, I think that's just a little bit too generic. And that if I'm someone that knows a little bit about fitness, I'm going to still try and calculate my own. Somebody who doesn't, they'll go, the computer says 1,000 and they'll cut 1,000 from their calories. So just something to keep in mind with this response. It might be a little bit scary. Now it does say 1 to 2 pounds a week, but I don't necessarily think people will focus on that too much. People go, 1,000 calories, I'm going to cut 1,000 calories. It does say to build muscle, you have to consume enough calories to support muscle growth and repair. And a good starting point is to consume 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Not a bad little number. I tend to go between 0.8 to 1 depending on body fat levels. But yeah, these are just general guidelines, and optimal calorie intake should be calculated for you. It does give you that disclaimer, which fine, but who will read the whole paragraph? People will look for numbers. So 500 to 1,000, not sure. Okay, so next bit is I want AI to calculate my calories. Okay, so here is the answer to my question. So it does not obviously calculate my calories specifically, but gives me a formula. So pretty straightforward there, and it helps you calculate your BMR. And then it does say your TDEE obviously matters based on your activity levels, and then you just multiply that by your BMR by this specific number, and then it gives you an example. Really like that, don't mind that at all. Now it does say at the bottom, again, a bit of a disclaimer, keep in mind that these are just estimates for your optimal calorie intake, and it might vary depending on your goal and so on. Always consult with a healthcare professional. That's the disclaimer, that's fine. But I think as a numbers thing, not a problem. You can easily punch that in and try that for yourself and see what numbers you're going to get. And then, yeah, that you go from there. Okay, so now that I've got my calories, I want to calculate my macronutrients. So love the answer, because it's actually giving me specific numbers. And I think that's one of the problems that a lot of people have. They start with they get their calories from some calculator, and then they don't really know what else to do, and they don't really know how to calculate everything else. This is really good. It gives you nice breakdown of your proteins, your carbs, and your fats, and it tells you what you should look out for. So my protein, it says 0.7 to 1 gram, and based on my calories, it says it should be between 175 to 250 grams of protein per day. I'm in that range. I'm at around about 200 at this moment in time, so spot on. Now the gap is quite big, so again, there's a little bit of room for interpretation there, but I don't mind that at all. Then carbohydrates, it should be consumed between 45 and 65%. Now the numbers don't really quite add up there, because it's telling me between 150 and 217 grams of carbohydrates. Now, if I do some rough maths and I go 200 grams of protein per day, that's 800 calories. And if I go for the top end of the carbohydrates, which is, 200 grams, again, that gives me about another 800, so 1,600 calories. And then if I go across to fats, it calculates between 68 to 120 grams of fat. Now, 120 grams of fat times 9, let's call it about 900 to 1,000 calories. So that takes me to 2,600 calories. We're missing 800 calories somewhere, and that's kind of being generous on this end. So yeah, I know they're just ranges and stuff, and it does say to kind of approximate them to 20 to 35% of your calories from fat. So that's good enough, but I'm missing a few calories. Could be a little bit better. I think carbohydrates could be a little bit better, because my carbs at the minute are around about 400. So 200, yeah, I'm missing 800 calories basically somewhere. Okay, so now we've talked about training, we've talked about food. Now we're on to something else. So should I be buying protein powder? Okay, so it does give me actually a fairly good answer. It says protein powder is a convenient and easy way to increase your protein intake. Not a problem at all, but it's not necessary. And I think that's the key point. I think too many people rely on I'm gonna just get protein and that's it. So really key point here is not necessary for everyone. It does tell you that you should get your protein from whole foods, and you may not have to use protein powders, and it tells you what good protein sources are. Love that, absolutely love that. It does say that if you are busy, you struggle to get enough protein, it can be very convenient, and it depends on your goals, so it might help you to meet your protein needs. Perfect answer, really couldn't have asked for a better answer. It's exactly what I generally go over with my clients, and this is just a perfect way of talking about it. Good, love it. Okay, next question is pre-workouts. Okay, so I've asked it whether I need to buy any pre-workouts, and it basically just gives me the general overview of what a pre-workout does, which is improve energy, focus, and performance during exercise. Some people find it helpful, they're not necessarily for everyone. Completely agree with that, and I do say that to a lot of my clients. Don't have to buy them, especially if you're training later on in the evening. You don't need to buy a pre-workout just because you might not sleep, and it does actually say here it might, impact your sleeping and so on, and increase insomnia, and give you jitters and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it does help with energy levels. It helps you with your goals. For example, if you're doing training and so on, and you're trying to build extra muscle, but you have to keep in mind the ingredients, and I love that it says that. So yeah, great answer. Don't have a problem with that, and I think that gives you just enough of an overview. Even if you're a novice, it gives you enough points to kind of maybe potentially investigate further. And if I was here and as a novice, I'd probably ask another couple of follow-up questions to this. Okay, let's ask it what other supplements it recommends. Okay, so here's the answer to other supplements. Protein powder, and I like that it says as mentioned earlier, because it is a contextual chat, so it does talk to you about the previous stuff, and it takes into account what you've already said it to it. So yeah, protein powder, it does say you can take protein powder for convenience. Multivitamins, great way to help fill nutrient gaps in diet. Love that. Omega-3 fatty acids, again, great point. Omega-3 fatty acids, highly recommended. Creatine, very interesting. It recommends creatine. It can help increase strength and muscle mass. It's found naturally in the body because through foods such as red meat and fish. Love that. Creatine's in there. That's absolutely perfect because I do take creatine. And then BCAAs. Now, BCAAs are, I actually don't mind this recommendation here. It gives you the general overview. It doesn't start talking about some fancy supplements. It just gives you the basics. And I really think that's a good piece of advice for someone who's maybe just a novice or just starting to get into this section. Okay, next question. I'm going to ask it if I should be taking steroids. Okay, so it took a while to answer this one. But basically it says steroids are powerful synthetic drugs that help, similar to the male hormone testosterone. Can be effective in increasing muscle mass strength, but they also have serious side effects. And then it sort of goes over the health risks, the legal issues, and the ethical concerns, such as cheating, essentially. Okay, so the next question is, what are your thoughts on lifting straps and squat shoes? I'm curious to see what the chatbot has to say about that. Okay, so it does explain what lifting straps are. Really good. It tells you that they go around a barbell and can help you improve with grip strength. Don't have a problem with that. It does say that using with lifting straps with caution and relying on them too much can lead to overuse, injuries, and weaken your grip strength over time. I can attest to that. I like using them, but obviously your grip strength does suffer a little bit. Squat shoes are specific footwear. Yeah, that's fine. And it does say about the raised heel, which is good information because that's something that somebody might have heard. Oh, squat shoes, don't know what they are, and that tells you what they are. And it help you with mobility issues. Okay, so if you've got poor ankle mobility, that might help to squat to depth, for example, and they're not necessary for everyone. So it is important to choose a pair that fits well and feels comfortable. No, perfect. I don't mind that. It gives you enough of an overview. Okay, final question. Who do you recommend I follow on social media? Okay, so it gives me a decent enough answer. It says, look at accounts that align with your goals, consider the credentials, check out the reviews and testimonials, find accounts that inspire you. That's fine, but it's not giving me anyone specifically. Let's see if it can kind of coax out a little bit more specificity. I want the chat to give me a specific answer. So it has actually given me some specific names, and I actually love these answers. So number one, Brett Contreras, glute guy. Fantastic guy. If you haven't read his book, if you're not following him, go and follow him. Tyson Murphy, actually never heard of Tyson Murphy, I'm not going to lie, not heard of Tyson Murphy, so another one I might have to check out. Strong by Science, great guys, they're fantastic, really good info out there. Hypertrophy coach Joe Bennett, absolute legend in the field. I absolutely love his work. I've learned so much from him. And then bodybuilding.com. Now bodybuilding.com, a little bit more commercial, still okay, but they're more on the commercial side. But I think Brett Contreras, I have massive respect for him, and also Strong by Science and hypertrophy coach Joe Bennett, especially Terence Roffin's coach. Absolutely love that guy. So yeah, overall, not a bad little recommendation set here. So let's conclude this chatbot. Loads of work still left. But I think if I'm a novice, I would feel comfortable enough going to the gym, especially the fact that I've got a workout right at the top. So if I scroll all the way up to my screen, I have a sample workout, and I can ask it questions to tailor it a little bit more to me. Now, I'm not fully happy with a day on, day off kind of full body strength training, but I think if I'm a novice, that is absolutely perfect for me, and it gives you enough it gives you a good enough program for you to follow. So yeah, overall, I'm going to give it about a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. Hopefully, as more people get on it, and yeah, the link's in the description, try and see it for yourself and see what happens, and have a little play with it and ask questions more specific to you, because over time, hopefully this will get much better. I really like this, and yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. And yeah, any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.